Hi, and welcome to the Poleshift News, guys. Happy Easter holidays, by the way. Guys, we've had a bit of a week. We've still been losing data on the TriMag system, but we have resolved that problem now. What it was is one of these transceivers, for some reason, would take one packet of data that was being transmitted from either one of the magnetometers back to the master. So we've replaced it. It was actually, the master transceiver that had gone. I just chose this picture because you can actually see what's inside the master. Pretty much the same setup as what you've got here, only on this one, these breakout boards have the magnetometer somewhere around this region here on the actual track. But it's done, we've resolved the problem. In the end, I had to get the master, sit it down on the dinner table and plug it into the computer and just press reset. And eventually I found the problem, and when I changed the transceiver out, we started getting continuous packets of data. So that's resolved. I'm going to show you some of the data that we got in the raw form, and I'll just explain what we're looking at, because I think we're almost on the verge of it just nipping over the edge now to 1 degree, and we're just under the year still. Remember, most of these organisations were stating that it was migrating at around about 1 degree every year, and true to what they've said so far is what we're seeing, 1 degree of movement, and it's not a little bit, guys. 1 degree is a significant amount, and it shows that the progression of the magnetic North Pole is still migrating easterly towards Siberia. And we've made predictions as well that as it migrates along that path towards Siberia, and it is pretty much a straight line, it is going to be taking that Arctic climate along with it. Not only, guys, are we seeing the Arctic climate move further easterly over the northern hemisphere of the planet, we're also seeing, as a result of the weakening magnetosphere and the weakening of the magnetic poles over the region, dislocation of the polar jet streams. And this is what really is causing the problems on the planet right now with what has been classified as climate chaos. You can see where we are to this present day, 2018, and we can see that all-important 40-degree mark, and we're about 4 years off of that 40-degree mark at its current progression. So, we've got some interesting times. But I want to say this, guys, we have seen in the last 100 years, the magnetic pole migrate at different speeds. At least 3 times it's covered more distance in less time. So it's almost like it's boosted its progression over the northern hemisphere. And, at its current speed, it could be at the 40-degree mark in around 4 years' time. And, if you're not familiar with the 40-degree mark, we've talked about this many times on this channel. Through some of the experiments we did, quite a while back, we found that these poles begin to move very rapidly after a 40-degree total movement. What's happening is they're moving from the strong field lines into the weak field lines, and if you look at a compass, it never hangs about in them weak field lines. That's the point at where things move very quickly. So it's theory that when it does get to that region, 40 degrees, if it continues in the pace that it's moving now, it will be within there around 4 years' time. But that doesn't mean to say things can't accelerate again like they have done already in the last, say, 60 years, 3 times. If that's the case, we could be looking at a lot shorter time before it gets to the 40-degree mark. And that is exactly what I'm anticipating might happen. So we've got some interesting times ahead. And, this is, and always has been for me, an important topic. I'm just, I always say this, I don't know why more people aren't following it, because this is a real event, it's a very rare event, and we've got no recorded history of what takes place, only from what we're doing right now. And we're seeing some remarkable changes, and, mainstream science are left well behind of the pace of, even this observatory that's monitoring it, because I don't think they're connecting the dots correctly. I don't think that they've even anticipated the Arctic Circle moving along with the magnetic pole. I think that they have taken it for granted that, you know, in the region of the magnetic North Pole, we have also the rotational axis, and we also have the coldest Arctic climates in these polar regions. And I don't think that it's by any coincidence we have all three. So I don't feel it, you know, coincidental that we see, you know, colder climate moving further easterly. You know, in the end of the day, it's moving along with the magnetic poles. I think when studies are done in the future and all this is confirmed, what scientists are going to say is the main mechanics of planetary science is related to its magnetic fields around these polar regions. If we just look at, for instance, what's happened to Mars, again, why they haven't connected the dots with the loss of magnetosphere on Mars as a result of its loss of its poles. You know, now, you know, resulting in a planet that has no water left on its surface and no gaseous atmosphere. You know, I always say this, it's been 500,000 years, 500,000 years, guys, overdue this time. And if they don't reconnect, or they don't go through a full reversal, you know, this planet could no longer support life. So that's exactly how important this topic is. And I don't think anyone else is talking about it in the same context as what we do on this channel. You know, I've made it very public for everyone to get as much information as I've been able to deliver for them. And we've, you know, as you guys know, gone to the extreme of building the equipment to track the actual heading of the migrating pole over the northern hemisphere, and more recently to measure the depleting magnetosphere. So, you know, it's not just an ordinary YouTube channel, it's an observatory. We've covered as much as we can on the channel, but we also have a website which you know, is a platform for anyone that's got an interest in the topic. You know, you'll find a lot of information on there, and it's well worth going into the Learning Centre, because there's been some good documentaries done on the magnetic North Poles and the current situation, and it's all there on one place, as well as, you know, if you're interested in looking at earthquakes, volcanoes, sea ice extent, and, you know, weather, and as well as a lot of other things. And more importantly, you know, we've got the TriMag data and now the magnetosphere data, which will be going on again on around about the 17th of April next month. We did lose a little bit of data, but it's not a problem, guys, because let's have a look at some of the data that we collected recently, and I'll just go through that. But that data we did last was about a month's worth, and we was slightly set back with the magnetosphere data as well, but, you know, it doesn't matter, because we've got a record of around 10 months already of TriMag data. As you can see, the first column here is the magnetometer. This is the heading of where the magnetic North Pole is, and you can see there's 1 and 2 magnetometers bringing in the data. We have got a bad track on magnetometer 3, which, you know, over the next couple of weeks I'll do a bit of maintenance and I'll get that track back delivering data, because at the end of the day, you know, we have 2 of the magnetometers which back up the data now. If we just look at Mag 2 for a long time now, magnetometer 2 has been peaking over the 11 degrees, which is an indication of 1 degree movement. But if we look at magnetometer 1, which is the one we use all the time for the data collecting on the site, it's at 1065. It is usually just 1 notch away at 1065 from going into 11, and we've seen it at 1015 a lot when we first started out. Then it went up to 1045. Well, as you can see, the majority of magnetometer readings on number 1 are 1065, and as you can see, on magnetometer 2, they're already in the 11 degrees, which is an indication of a 1 degree movement. And I'll be satisfied over the next couple of months if we see magnetometer 1 bringing in that same conclusion, that it's gone into the 11s, which means it's moved easterly on the map. It's still following the pattern it has done for the last 100 years. It's still heading towards Siberia, and it is still migrating in that direction. And that's what this is all about. It gives us an accurate account of by how much it moves. If that magnetic North Pole just moved for 15 minutes, more than 47 miles, which is around about 1 degree from the latitude of where we take our readings from in the UK, we would have the data. Every 3 seconds, one of the magnetometers sends a packet of data to the master, and the master records that heading, and that's what we're looking at here. And this was part of the data the other day I was collecting, or the magnetometer station was collecting, and I think we do go into the zeros where it loses its track again, where it had a little breakdown. You see this one? No. Okay, this was the after the repair of the transceiver that we managed to collect the data, and I knew then that we'd resolved it finally. So I have got some other data like this where you can see as it goes further down, it doesn't have an idea of number 1, 2, or 3 as an idea of 0, and that means no data was collected. So we're doing really well with what we're able to on this channel. And guys, all the credit goes to you guys that have supported this channel, the research and the building of all this equipment, because this wouldn't be in the public domain if it weren't. We wouldn't have the website, and we wouldn't have the data or the equipment if it weren't for the people supporting it. I just hope that people continue to support it, and I will mention it only once. The link is down there, guys. And at times where we've got to replace gear, make repairs and do some maintenance, this is the time where we need those funds. So I'm going to leave the video here. There are other things I'd like to talk about. The current affairs and state of these so-called richest countries in the world, like the UK, America, Canada, Australia, and all the other European countries. But I think you guys already are aware of what's going on. That there's some serious problems with corruption in these governments, and maybe it's a talk or a topic for another day. Maybe when we do a live broadcast at some point on YouTube next month, we can discuss some of these things, because they do affect our lives just as much as what these earthly anomalies do as well, and are going to do so more as the near future moves on. So I'm going to wish you all the best for the weekend, guys, and links down there if you want to help support the channel, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. So what I usually do. Bye for now.